And that government would have been led by Peter Lim Jaronrad, who joins me now in the studio. Welcome, Mr. Lim Jaronrad.
Thank you for having me.
What is your first comments on the death of Nitipon Sanesongkhom? Who do you hold responsible for her death?
It's a tragic loss of Thailand as a nation, where a group of young activists was asking for rule of law instead of rule by law. So detention before trial happens in Thailand. That's what she wanted to fight against. Also, the right to bail, presumption of innocence. These are the three core things that she was fighting for. Of course, the reform of the lese majeste law was the key point at the very beginning, but because she was refused right to bail. So that's why a lot of younger generations detained before trial, went on hunger strike. And she's not the only one. I just feel the pain inside for her family that she had to go through it this way. There should be ways of negotiating or the kind of dialogue that doesn't have to cost lives.
But should she have even been in prison? Because what was she doing at the end of the day? She was allegedly asking people's opinion about the royal family, and that is what landed her in prison. Should she have even been in prison?
In Thailand, the law says that a mild criticism of the monarchy is not allowed, but the sentiment of the era might change to a certain extent, and we as a lawmaker wanted to do an attempted amendment of the law so that there's proportionality between protection the head of state and the freedom of speech. So making sure that the law is at the right proportion when it comes to freedom infringement. So even if it's wrong, she has the right to bail. It's presumption of innocence. She has to go through the trial first to determine whether it's right or wrong, but she didn't even get that right to bail, and that's why she went on the hunger strike.
Let's just talk a bit about the lese majeste law, if we can, because you wanted this law to be amended in your campaign. That was one of the major planks of your campaign. Do you still maintain that position? Should this be amended?
It's still an issue on how to keep Thailand to remain as a constitutional monarchy. A part of the reform was a middle path between polarized opinions or feelings or the sentiment of where the role of the monarchy should be in the 21st century. And we as a lawmaker, we don't want to see polarizing opinions outside of the parliament. We wanted to make sure that it's a common path.
But you would require an amendment. So do you still stand by that amendment? Do you want that amendment?
Yes, still in the boundary of what the Constitutional Court had decided. So
you won the election effectively last year. You won the most seats, yet you could not form the government, as a result of which one could not change the law as it stands now. So if someone like you, who had a popular mandate to make the amendment, could not make the amendment, how will this be amended?
I think the only way to do it is through the same thing, and also to explain to the resistance that we mean well for the monarchy. In a constitutional monarchy, we want the king to be above politics, and we don't want any other political opponents to use lese majeste law to destroy political opponents and to push the youth away from the monarchy themselves. So it needs time, it needs domination of ideas, it needs explanation and things like that. Hopefully that's what we do in the case against the Constitutional Court in the first week of June, which is 2 weeks away.
Speaking of the court system, I mean, you're talking about the lese majeste laws and perhaps other laws being used to settle scores, potentially. That's what you were alluding to. What does that say about the justice system, the court system in Thailand? Is it independent? Is it reliable?
Well, there's certainly cases of judicial harassment to a few MPs here. In my case, I was unduly suspended for about 6 months during the Prime Minister's election in the Parliament. So speaking of the integrity of the system, we got 4.9 out of 10 from the index, and we're number 82 out of 140. So that kind of statistics would tell the audience something about the system in Thailand.
What would you tell the audience? What is your assessment of it? Is it independent? Is it reliable?
Somewhat independent, but then it depends on various cases that sensitive to the public sentiment might not be as straightforward as it should be. We might have the structure, but the enforcement might be an issue.
In terms of enforcement, a case is certainly being enforced on you. You were talking about this case that is coming up for hearing again in June. Essentially, the case is that the Election Commission wants your party, the Move Forward Party, to be dissolved.
Yes.
And you to be potentially banned from politics for 10 years.
For a lifetime.
For a lifetime. How real is that possibility?
Given the historical record, this is going to be the fifth vicious cycle that it happens, in the past 20 years. So, the stats is against me, but I'm trying my best to fight tooth and nail and keeping the faith.
The previous iteration of the Move Forward Party, Future Forward, was already dissolved in 2020.
Yes.
Do you think the same could happen this time? Because there is a history of that. It happened with the Pheu Thai Party as well.
Still possible, but that's what we're trying to fight against, and we're trying to explain and argue our case that this should be